Well, hi all. Well, what a year. I haven't done a YouTube video before, so I apologise if it's not as fancy as some of them out there. The reason I'm doing this is to open up your eyes to the way God communicates with us and also understand the sign of the times. We are close. About 7 years ago, I googled what the best version of Bible would be to use, especially for those that are speaking English. Apparently, King James, the 1611 version is the one that I use. So if you want to follow me, I suggest you get that version or look it up online, and that way you can compare what I'm saying against what is actually being written. Now, obviously, I want to check to make things are correct, but for those of you who've got the ability to actually record what I'm saying, please do so. Download this video and you can use it on YouTube on your own channels. I'm not after anything. I don't need any money. After all, if I'm correct, what's the point of having any money in the first place? So I also suggest that you obviously give this video to your friends and family as well. Yeah, I guess for those of you that have Christ in your heart, it's going to reaffirm your faith. Those that you don't, well, it might be time that you actually do, because the end is pretty close as far as I'm concerned. Alright, Revelation 3:15 to 16. Jesus says to the church, which is pretty much those that believe in Christ, I know thy works, thou art not neither cold nor hot. So because you are lukewarm, neither cold or hot, I spew thee out of their mouth. I don't want you guys to be cold or lukewarm. So the main reason I'm doing this is to open your eyes so that you can see exactly what's going on out there. Some people in history have obviously heard the voice of God. Moses, for example. Others like me like puzzles, like putting things together, looking at the pieces and seeing how they actually relate to what's happening according to the Bible. There is no coincidence, so I need to let you know that there is no coincidence. God's plan is perfect, and the Bible is one of the most amazing books that there is. Every generation that picks up the Bible thinks that it's the final generation, which is why God said to Daniel, or Jesus said, Daniel, lock up this particular book, the book of Daniel, so that it's for the last generation, because the other generations would not understand. And now that we're at that particular point, we do understand what it's getting at, all the technology involved in making obviously the Antichrist and the rise of the Antichrist and the beast system and so forth. There's a lot that needs to be involved, and our generation is the one that's seen it all happen. Today I'm going to show you how everything's linked to everything, whether it's obviously Chinese zodiac, with a Mayan calendar, the world's main religions, and how it all comes back to one person, Jesus Christ. I want you to be patient because there's a lot that I need to get through. So there's a lot of information and it's going to make your head spin. In the end, it's going to be worth it. So please watch it all. If you can't watch it all, come back to it. If you have already watched it, revisit it so it refreshes in your mind and remains in your mind. In Luke 12:56, Jesus says, Ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and the earth, but how is it you cannot discern the time, this time? And I guess that's what we're going to look at. Well, we know that there's a lot of things that seem wrong with what's happening in the world, but the problem is that Satan has us so busy that we choose to either ignore it or just can't be bothered trying to understand it. Isaiah 5:20 says, Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. Now, it seems like we don't seem to understand the difference anymore, and we saw that with the US elections. As the guy on YouTube station The Watchman says, it's like we're watching the same movie, but we're seeing different stories. Now, from our perspective, God uses Israel. Israel is God's timepiece. And for thousands of years, it wasn't in existence. And all of a sudden, bang, it started up again. And that's where the warning came to the world that we are getting close to the end. For us here, where I am in Australia, we have another person that sort of blew the trumpet, if you want to put it that way. And the coincidences, as I said, there is no coincidences. We had a gay marriage debate that happened in 2015, and the person who was screaming the loudest, who was majorly against it, was a guy by the name of Israel. Israel Folau, that's F-O-L-A-U. If you want to have a moment, YouTube his channel. There's a video that says Israel Folau claims bushfires and drought are part of God's plan to punish Australia. As I said, Israel, and they are our warnings, and we were warned. There is no coincidence. In Psalms 9:17, it says, "The wicked shall return to hell, and all nations that forget God." In Australia, well, we've seen since 2017 gay marriage, we've seen abortion and euthanasia, and all has broken with droughts, bushfires. As you probably heard of, a lot of koalas were lost. So we've had massive extinctions over here with those massive bushfires. You also saw it in the UK, in Russia, in the Amazon forest, and we're seeing it in California, which, let's face it, it is the sin capital of the world, pretty much. All the porn and stuff that comes out of there, democratic run state, it's suffering at the moment. So, yeah, in the last 3 years, we've fallen quite quickly. And yeah, I guess as far as we can see, the globe is just a full speed ahead to that one world government that the Bible tells us, the one world religion, the one world currency, the one world ruler that we refer to as the AntiChrist. Everything is coming together quite nicely, according to the Bible. There's a Fox Business article headed, "Why is Elon Musk launching so many satellites into space?" The article goes on to say that Musk has received formal approval by the Federal Communications Commission of 12,000 satellites. As far as I know, about 800 of them are up already, and also submitted paperwork for another 30,000 in December last year. Is this part of the move for the connected, majorly having us all connected to one global surveillance system? Is this part of the mark of the beast system, as in Revelations 13:16-17, "And he causeth all, both small and rich and poor, free and bound, to receive a mark in his right hand or in his forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that have the mark." Is this how it's all going to happen? We've also seen Microsoft recently had a patent issued under patent number WO, which most people are saying World Order, but it's not. 2020-06-06-06. Now you get rid of the zeros, it's 666. The patent deals with basically having some sort of thing to measure your body activity and tracks your movement to see if you've done a job. And then it will credit your account with cryptocurrency or a digital currency. So obviously you can buy or sell, so you get told what to do, you go do it, and then you get paid in the form of a digital currency. Now, how it's going to come about, at the moment, it's uncertain, but the Bible says you're going to receive some sort of mark that you can't buy or sell. Also, the US Congress in March 2020 introduced a title bill under the title HR 6666. That's 4 sixes. So here we go again with the sixes. The bill authorises the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, to award grants for testing, contact tracing, monitoring, and other activities to address COVID-19, and it goes on. So let's get started. Matthew 24:37, it says, "But as in the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be." And it goes on about eating and drinking, and obviously it's the moral decline of the society at the time. Are we seeing that in the world today? Well, we are. We're seeing that quite a bit. As I said, no one can tell the difference between right or wrong. We're killing babies. And it continues along those lines. You're getting TikTok. You got these girls getting up there and gyrating their body and doing all these things on TikTok. All of a sudden, in the last 3 years, you've seen all these women wearing these skin-tight pants, pretty much, which doesn't show much or leave much to the imagination. So my question is, what if the statement was more literal? What if the two things that say, what are the two most major things that you associate with the days of Noah? Well, firstly, most people will say the flood. Okay, fair enough. We've seen unprecedented flooding in our world over the last 3 years from Europe and so forth. In Australia, we've had the flooding up north as well. We've seen flooding across the board. But also, number 2 would be the ark. So, Noah, what do you associate? The flood and the ark. So this is how God shows us. Now, the number 7 is the most significant number. We see it in the Bible under the 7 churches, 7 candlesticks, the 7 spirits, the 7 trumpets, the 7 vials, the 7 plagues, the 7 mountains, the 7 heads, and it continues and continues. 7 is also the number of completion. That's it. It's done. I'm resting. The 7th day you've rested. So if you Google the number 777, it represents the Holy Trinity, which is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Represent 888 represents the number of Jesus. And in Chinese, it's a very lucky number. So you just wonder where the Chinese sort of went off track with communism, because it was a number that represented a very lucky number that also happens to represent Jesus. Now, on the 7th day of the 7th month in 2016, an exact replica of Noah's Ark was completed and opened in Kentucky, USA. It cost over $100 million to build, and believe it or not, the lawyers for the Ark sued the insurance company for damage associated with rain. So God has a sense of humour. So I guess the thing is that we seem to want to overcomplicate everything. When a literal translation, as in the days of Noah, what would happen? It flooded. Well, we've got that, and we've got an ark. That could be just as simple as it is. So while we're on the number 7, let's look at Donald Trump. Daniel 2, number 21. He removeth kings and he set up kings. Is Trump significant to the end times? The answer, as far as I'm concerned, is yes. Donald Trump was born exactly 700 days before the birth of Israel, and it happened to be a lunar eclipse. So, don't count the 0, 700 days, 7. Donald Trump became president on the 21st of January 2017 at the age of 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days. Again, the Holy Trinity then. What year was it? Well, according to the Jewish calendar, it was the year 5, being the number of grace. 7, 7, 7. So you're starting to see God's hand in the number 7 and saying, hey, I'm here. I'm doing all of this. And what did Donald Trump do as his first act of international diplomacy? Moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem when on its 70th anniversary. Many believe that Trump is the trumpet of God. God is always talking to us. If we open up our eyes, we will see. Now, on his 2-year anniversary as president, there was also a blood moon. You may recall those blood moons in 2015, 2016. Basically, blood moons happened before he was president. Blood moons are significant, especially when it comes to Israel. They represent either something that's going to be really, really good or something that's going to be really bad. For example, they happened before the 6-Day War and when Israel took Jerusalem. Now, Trump did more than any other president before him for Israel and put together in the Middle East 4 peace deals before, well, he was voted out, so it seems. So these peace deals happened recently, and the end times it does say that there's going to be peace deals happening in the Middle East, and that the AntiChrist will confirm those peace deals with many. And we saw these normalizations of relationship with Arab countries, and it looks like the next one will be Saudi Arabia. There's been a meeting in Netanyahu and also the Saudi king. So something big seems to be happening, especially with Biden trying to take Iran's side with going back into this Iran deal, a nuclear deal, which a lot of them are not happy with. So when the rapture occurs, you're either going to be on one or two sides. So on the side of right, which I say is righteous, so God is again showing us these things, the right, the righteous, or the left, those that are going to get left behind. So it doesn't matter what you think of Trump, whether you love him or hate him, it's irrelevant. It's his actions in God's plan that matters most. Is he pro-life? Yes. Was he for the church? Yes. Did he take his own Bible to his own inauguration? Yes. Is he a praying president? As one person says, not a religious president, but a praying president. Maybe not at the beginning, but he was when he was leaving there. And he took his book across to St. John's Church, which was quite interesting, and I'll get to that a bit later as well. So we got the right or the righteous, or those who are left behind, which, unless you repent, may be you. And it worries me because it's quite contrast. You see a lot of people on the left and you start to worry about whether they have God in their heart. Now also, he's showing you things through the parties. Now, Democrat, Demon Rats. I mean, there's not much of a difference between. I think he's trying to show you, if you look at the politics of the particular Democratic Party, they're a party for abortion, they're a party for silencing the church, they've got unholy genders, especially around gender politics as well. And yeah, we saw it through the Obama administration. They weren't good for decent and moral standards at all. So is God talking to us? Now in Genesis 1:27, it says, so God created man in his own image. The image of God created him, male and female, created he them. I remember seeing a cartoon that stated God created man and woman, Democrats created all other genders. Now, again, I'm not into the thing, I'm just looking at it purely from taking things a bit more literal. The right, the righteous, the left being left behind, Democrat, it's uneasy, and if you look at the politics of it, it seems to follow through. And you need to remember one important thing. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father. So the right, the righteous, it's important. Whether you like it or not, you need to have a look at what both these parties are doing and make sure that your heart is for right and not for the unholy. As I said earlier, there is no coincidence. Everything is in plain sight for those that have eyes to see. Now, in the Bible, David wasn't perfect, and neither is Trump, but he is significant. Here are some interesting things about him. He was born in the year of the dog. Okay, here's where the Chinese links are starting to happen, and there's loyalty. The dogs are loyal animals. He was born on the USA National Flags Day. He was a patriot. You look what he did, the way he actually handled the world. He brought America first. Now, some people, again, we only got one side because the media was heavily against him. In history, I've never seen any president being attacked or being trying to take a media to take down a president the way this guy was taken down. It was sad. He really didn't have a chance, and the only thing that kept him there was God's hand. Now, the impeachments and all of the Russia probes and the constant, social media against him, the Hollywood was against him, the big tech was against him. It felt like everyone was against him, but he was doing something that God wanted him to do. Those that bless Israel will be blessed. Those that don't bless Israel will be cursed. Now, he blessed Israel. His big problem was that he still wanted to divide it as part of his plan, and if you divide Israel, he'll divide you and your nation. Now, if we continue, there's also something quite interesting. There's a book in the Congressional Library called Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, about a boy called Barron Trump who lived in Trump Tower. Sounds interesting, sounds familiar. Who goes to Russia for some sort of time travel portal that exists there with his father, the Don. Some really strange stuff. Now, the guy who wrote this book was called Lockwood, and he wrote the book in 1893. Now, he also wrote a book in 1896 called The Last President. What if Donald Trump ends up losing this election? And it looks like he has. What if something so big, so earth-shattering happened, meaning that Biden couldn't take up the presidency? It's interesting, especially when you look at Biden. He became president-elect at the age of 77. Again, is this guy saying, hey, Trump's done what I need him to do. He's got the ball running with the peace deals. It's time for Biden to take over. Again, he's unofficially president-elect. It looks like it's getting ratified quite soon. but will he be president? On the 12th of November, so after he's still in that limbo stage, 2020, after the election, he pre-recorded a message to a group of Catholics celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Jesuit refugee service, like the Pope. The question is, the Pope is Jesuit. Is Biden Jesuit? It's interesting because the Pope has all of these organizations throughout the world, Jesuit groups, and especially in America. So it's quite interesting. Is there a link between? So let's go back and have a look at what happened in Trump's first year. Two big things happened. Obviously, he was elected president, which was completely freaked out people. No one stood a chance in 2016 when he became president in 2017. But we also had the Great American Eclipse, 21st August 2017. 2017, it's a big year for prophecy. Also, on the 23rd of September 2017, we had the Revelation 12 sign. So we had two things, but beside Trump for the time being, I'll get back to him later. Let's have a look at those two events. So Luke 21, number 25 says, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars," as well as Genesis 1:14, when God says, "Let there be light." Now these things were also supposed to be signs for us so we can understand what was going on. So the Great American Eclipse, many believe it was a sign of Jonah, which is a very bad sign. Now in Revelation 6:3-4, "And when he opened the second seal, he heard the second beast say, 'Come and see.' And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him to take peace from the earth." The first main city that this solar eclipse went across was the city of Salem, as in Jerusalem. Salem means peace. So I was interested. I go, that's interesting. So I looked at the flight path of the first eclipse and noticed that it passed over 6 other cities, also called Salem. Now there's about 30 to 50 in America. Now the path is widened a bit. You could probably add another 3 cities. So we're looking at 10 cities, close to 10 cities with the name of Salem. I remember Googling it a while ago. I took take notes, but I can't find them. And people coming up saying, "Hey, there's another one here and there's another one here." So we're looking at least 10 Salems that were in that first path, starting at the main city of Salem and heading across down towards Florida. Now, the question obviously is, what's God trying to tell us here? Was darkness taking peace from the earth? 2017. Now, there's a second eclipse that's going to happen again, 7 years. So here we go again with the 7, which basically one goes this way and one goes that way. That's going to take on another 3 Salems. So you're looking at, over 20% of the Salems would be taken out by those 2 eclipses. Is the second one the mark of total destruction? X marks the spot. Interesting. What's more interesting is that when the first eclipse went, it ended up over South Carolina, heading southeast past Florida. So Revelation 8, number 7 says, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and overcome them." So, interesting. So we've got darkness taking place from the world, and we've got it making war with the saints. So what happened next? In the opposite direction, so we've got the solar eclipse going this way. Coming up from the other side was Hurricane Jose. Hurricane Jose. Jose, Joseph. It's the English version is Joseph. So you've got Joseph coming in on the 5th of September to the 25th of September. So it's interesting. Darkness crossing the land, taking peace from the world. The other side we've got Joseph coming through. Shortly thereafter was the next one, but it doesn't end there. Guess who was following Joseph? Hurricane Maria, or in English as we put it, Mary. This happened from the 16th of September to the 2nd of October. So Both of them are in that window for what? The 23rd of September, Revelation 12 sign. I just find it fascinating. Now, if you go one step further, in the Washington Post, there was an article saying that Hurricane Jose and Tropical Storm Maria, which it was at the time, could dance the Fujiwara. So it's like a dance where Joseph are dancing and sort of Joseph spins off there. So anyhow, it's just a little side thing. I thought it was quite fascinating. So while all this is happening, my mind comes to me, where did the moon go after that? So we've got the moon doing the solar eclipse this side. We've got another one going this way. It's interesting, but the first one goes down and then comes back up where? Around Israel. The second one goes up and comes down around where? Around Israel. Wouldn't it be interesting if in 2024 the first one marks the destruction of the US, followed by the Battle of Armageddon? Anyhow, I'm just throwing that out there at the moment. So let's have a look. We've got the case for that. So it's quite interesting. If you look at where Armageddon is, it's another interesting thing. It's about 24 kilometers southeast of Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. Jesus of Nazareth. From Nazareth, it's actually 24 kilometers southwest of Nazareth. But just playing with the numbers is quite interesting where things are located and how it all comes in and it's coming back up and the other one's coming down. Now, I can't confirm for sure what the path was, but I'm just looking at it and saying, okay, if it continued, it's going to get pretty close. If it doesn't, side issue, but it's something that I thought would be interesting to throw in there. So while all this is happening, we had this Revelation on the 23rd of September. So 2017 is significant. Now the Revelation 12 sign goes along the lines, a great wonder appeared in the heavens, a woman clothed in the sun, with the moon at her feet, and 12 stars at her head. The woman was Virgo, so looking up you can see Virgo. Then within Virgo's stomach was Jupiter, which stayed there for 9 months. They call retrograde, where it moves one way and then it seems to be moving back 9 months, the period for obviously the birth of a child. And then it exited at that point in time. Woman fled, followed by the dragon. The dragon is usually symbolic of Satan or the AntiChrist. Satan is also the snake or the horse of Revelation. So there's the three main animals that you can attribute to Satan. Again, Chinese zodiac sort of coming into the play there. It's quite interesting how everything seems to be linked. Now, many believed that this was a sign of the rapture, and I was following it. To me, I was looking out there, I'm going, no, it can't be. Things need to get worse. We're still plodding along, everything's going quite well, the economies are going great guns. It wasn't the rapture. So, what was it? My belief was that it was the rise of the Antichrist. Now, I remember that night of the 23rd, or where I am, the morning of the 24th, looking out my window and seeing something that I've never seen in my life. I'm in the southern hemisphere. From us, we have a star, a constellation, a set of stars that form what we call the Southern Cross. Now that night, it's 5 stars as a cross and one that's slightly off. We call it the Southern Cross, but that night, when I looked out, again the following morning, this actual constellation for the first time that I've ever seen in my life was actually upside down. For me, it was confirming that it was the rise of the Antichrist. Now, I remember, as I said, it was quite eerie actually, when you looked out there and you had a bit of a chill in your spine. So I googled what happened on the 23rd of September that day. And in the Los Angeles Times, there was an article, and the article says, a demonstrator holds a sign reading the reign of Jupiter during a September 23rd, 2017 protest in Paris. So, brings me to the first likely candidate for Antichrist. Matthew 1:23, behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call him Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. According to the Antichrist, he was going to come as someone who wants to exert himself as God, even above God, as a friendly leader who will obviously work his way through flatteries, and then introduce a mark that no man can buy or sell. So let's have a look at the first one. Let's go literal again with the Bible. Emmanuel. We're talking Emmanuel Macron. Now, in my research, I did notice that there is a site called Macron is the antichrist.info/n-excellent-article, which has most of this information. So I was quite impressed. I mainly went to that site to see how the number 666 related to it. It did explain it, but anyhow, I'll put it to the side. Now let's have a look at Emmanuel. Emmanuel again means God with us. Jean Michael, which is his middle name, apparently means, and I say apparently because who knows who's putting this up, which or who is as God in the Hebrew. Frederick means a peaceful ruler. Macron means written or printed mark. So you see, being as God, exalting himself above God, comes as a friendly leader and introduces a mark. It's all in his name. And recently, especially I've noticed over the last 3 years, everyone seems to have gotten tattoos. So I'm wondering what's going on. Is this them getting us ready for the next level, for the mark on the right hand or on the forehead? And they've changed, so it's no longer barcodes or whatever for actual. You've got all these squares, and it's starting to look quite actually fashionable. So is this the way they're going to get us ready for the mark? This could be interesting. But let's look at Macron a bit more. He's born on the 21st of the 12th, 1977. Now, the 21st of December is the coldest day of the year, or the shortest day of the year. It's the winter solstice in the actual northern hemisphere. So it's the shortest day. If we go one step further, he was born in the year of the snake. Chinese, snake, Satan, the original sin. He won the election in France with 66.06% of the vote. He worked for the Rothschilds, and we know that name. They're global elites that many believe are running the world, and bankers and so forth. So he may have entered there through flatteries and actually had stitched up a pretty big deal for him when he came to power. Before he came to power in 2012. Now 2012 was when he moved into politics, which is also his birthday, was the Maya end of the world scenario, which I'll get to. Now, here's the interesting stuff. He became president of France on the exact same day as Israel's anniversary, the 14th of May. 69th anniversary. 69 isn't one of those numbers that, yeah. Anyhow, Macron became president on the same day as Israel's anniversary, 69th anniversary. Going back to the winter solstice, witches believe that day is the day where darkness comes into the light, and that's why they celebrate it. It's the shortest day of the year, there's less light, so it's more darkness. Now, the Mayan calendar, as I said, ended on his birthday, the 21st of the 12th. He's the youngest leader since Napoleon. He married someone who's 24 years older than him, and they chose not to have children. So the question is, they say the Antichrist does not desire women. Is it a relationship of a sexual nature, or is it not? Question mark. Let's face it, it's quite weird, isn't it? Now, if we move one step further, I remember reading something in the Bible where the Antichrist is associated with a lion. I've tried to search for it, trying to find it again. I haven't been able to find it. So I associated that with possible Prince Harry. Now, Prince Harry is one of those guys that if you Google it, Prince Harry Antichrist, he's named several ways, doesn't matter how you do it, seems to end up 666. Is he Prince Charles? The red hair, the lion, the British Lions. It is quite an interesting one, Harry, and military leader. He's in the military. He started up the Invictus Games, so they love him. They love him in regards to that. But anyhow, going back to Macron. Macron. Well, if you look at the name, Macron. Hey, Macron. Originally, it seems to have come from the Scottish. Now, the British have a lion on their flag, 3 lions. The Scottish have 1. Now, there's a verse in the Bible that says that even Satan comes as an angel of light. So, the nickname, Macron, is actually a nickname, Scottish nickname for one with light hair. So, it's interesting. So again, we're looking at the lions and we're looking at how that all plays out. And also Macron's grandfather was apparently a British soldier, I believe, or British. Now both parents were doctors or physicians. IVF was quite big in the time. Virgin birth. Maybe I'm stretching it a bit there, but just wanted to throw out the possibility because things are very, very interesting if you take that verse from the Bible. And the other thing is with Macron, he also has a peace plan in place if Trump's one falls over. So he's ready to go in there if Trump doesn't finish off the deal. We saw with Lebanon, the big bomb that went off, the ammonium that went off in the port there. He was one of the first people out there, and they love him in there. They wanted the French to take over. Their current system is corrupt. So again, it was quite interesting. Now, I'm going to finish off with the Antichrist and do another video for the others to get you a bit more information. It's becoming a bit long, so I'm going to try and break them up a bit. So please view the other videos when you get a moment. Alright, the next one is Recep Erdogan. He's the president of Turkey. Interesting guy. Lots and lots and lots and lots of things happening with him. Revelation 13:18. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for the number, it is the number of a man, and the number is 600, 3score, and 6, or 666. You can go to a website gemtrix.org and you can put all these different things there and it will come up with a name. This is under the English grammatica, I think it's pronounced. Now, this guy, Erdogan, is actually born in the year of the horse, Revelation 6:2. White horse represents Antichrist. He changed the constitution to concentrate more power and extend his mandate to 2029. He's involved with Libya, which promises a rat, according to the Zodiac. Sudan, we've got a monkey there, and we've got Ethiopia, a dragon, which is also usually pretty high up there. Libya and Ethiopia, apparently most people are saying that they're 3 of the actual 6 countries that will eventually attack Israel, followed by Erdogan, who's a horse, of course. We've got Putin, which is a let's have a look, he's a dragon, and we've also got the other guy as well in Iran. Sorry, I haven't done my research completely, but I think he's a rabbit. Not too sure where that fits in. Maybe the Prime Minister, but anyhow, it's quite interesting if you look at the zodiacs of the others. They're all devious ones if you look at that from that perspective. Now, in Revelation 2:13, it says, in his letter to the church in Pergamos, so Pergamos, which is a Greek. Modern day, it's Pergamum. It states, I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Now, this particular land, Pergamum, is located in Turkey, the king of the north. Turkey is the most north. Russia, yeah, you could probably get there, but it looks like Turkey is the one they're talking about. So, yeah, it's quite interesting there. As I said, you're looking at Prince Harry as possible one. Other one, there's a lot of things happening with him. But there's also an interesting dictator in Turkmenistan. He came up because purely he was on our mainstream media, and usually mainstream media you don't get anything that's quite weird, but he was on the mainstream media in 2019 driving a rally car around the Devaza crater to prove that he was still alive. Is this the wound that was hit and basically healed? Is he proving is he dead? Is he alive? The crater is also referred to as the gates of hell. Apparently the Russians originally found it, lit it, and basically it's full of gas and it's just burning. So you got this dictator in a rally car doing donuts around this crater. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. Recently he was also in the news again for making a statue of his dog, golden statue of his dog, and putting it up. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Anyhow, I'm going to keep coming, do another video shortly after this one about the church, the rapture, the likely coming of God and so forth, and a few other things that I want to throw in there. So I thank you for your time, and I will cut it off at that point in time. Otherwise it's just going to get too long. Thanks.